Hook. More than 10,000 babies. Born without arms. Without legs. With hearts forming outside their chests. And the company that made the drug that caused it, they had warning signs. They buried them. A single FDA bureaucrat stood between the United States and the same catastrophe. Her name was Frances Oldham Kelsey. The question that should haunt every one of us: what did Chemie Grünenthal actually know, and when did they know it? Background. It is 1957. West Germany is rebuilding. The rubble of World War II has barely cooled. A pharmaceutical company called Chemie Grünenthal, founded by Hermann Wirth Sr., a former Nazi Party member, pivots from its original antibiotic ambitions toward something far more lucrative: a tranquilizer. The drug is called thalidomide. The trade name is Contergan. And the marketing pitch is almost poetic in its cynicism: safe enough for pregnant women, they say. No known lethal dose. A miracle of modern chemistry. The post-war world is desperate for calm. Anxiety, insomnia, morning sickness, thalidomide promises to dissolve all of it. By 1958, the United Kingdom licenses it. By 1960, it spreads to 46 countries across Europe, Canada, Australia, and beyond. Doctors hand it to pregnant women like candy. Chemists stock it over the counter in some markets. No prescription required. The drug earns Grünenthal millions. The executives drink champagne. The pregnant women swallow their morning pills. And somewhere in the developmental architecture of thousands of unborn children, something goes catastrophically, irreversibly wrong. The world does not yet know what is coming. But some people, inside that company, already have suspicions. And they say nothing. That silence is the real crime here. Deep dive. Let's go back to the beginning. 1953, Swiss pharmaceutical giant Ciba synthesizes thalidomide for the first time. They test it. They find it unremarkable: no useful antibiotic properties, no compelling clinical application. They abandon it. 1 year later, Chemie Grünenthal acquires the compound. Their scientists run their own tests. Here is the first critical detail: thalidomide produces no observable lethal dose in animals. You cannot kill a rat with it. To the researchers, this reads as safety. What they fail to grasp, or choose not to investigate, is that absence of acute toxicity is not the same as absence of harm. By 1956, Grünenthal begins distributing thalidomide samples to physicians across West Germany. Free samples. No clinical trial data on pregnant women. No teratogenicity studies, that is, no tests for whether the drug damages developing fetuses. The company's internal communications from this period show a relentless push toward market launch. Speed over science. Revenue over rigor. October 1957. Contergan hits the German market. Within months, it is the best-selling sedative in West Germany. Doctors love it. Patients love it. Grünthal's sales team calls it the drug of the century. Pregnant women, in particular, are a target demographic. Morning sickness is miserable. Thalidomide relieves it. The packaging promises safety. The company's representatives repeat the safety claim in doctors' offices across the country. But by 1959, just 2 years after launch, something starts to crack. Physicians begin reporting peripheral neuropathy in long-term adult users. Numbness. Tingling. Nerve damage. These are not trivial side effects. Grünenthal receives these reports. They document them internally. And then, here is the crucial moment, they decide not to disclose them publicly. They write letters to concerned physicians downplaying the findings. They argue the benefits outweigh the risks. They keep selling. Now enter the children. The first wave of affected births begins appearing in 1959 and accelerates through 1960 and 1961. Babies born with phocomelia, a condition where limbs fail to develop properly, leaving hands or feet attached directly to the torso. Babies with no ears. Babies with damaged eyes. Babies with hearts and digestive tracts malformed beyond repair. Approximately 40% of these children die at or shortly after birth. The ones who survive face a lifetime of profound physical challenge. The timing is devastatingly precise. Thalidomide taken on day 20 of pregnancy damages the central brain. Day 21, the eyes. Day 22, the ears and face. Day 24 are the arms. Up to day 28 are the legs. After day 42, the drug causes no fetal damage at all. This narrow, catastrophic window of vulnerability was never tested. It was never even considered. In Hamburg, a pediatrician named Widukind Lenz starts noticing the pattern. He is meticulous. He is alarmed. He begins interviewing the mothers of affected children, asking about every medication taken during early pregnancy. The same answer keeps surfacing: Contergan. Lenz compiles his data through 1961. In November of that year, he presents his findings to Grünenthal directly. He tells them their drug is causing the deformities. He gives them the data. He demands they pull it from the market. Grünthal's response is not to act immediately. Their response is to threaten Lenz with legal action for defamation. Let that land for a moment. A doctor tells a pharmaceutical company their product is destroying children. The company's first instinct is to silence him. But Lenz does not go quiet. He goes public. He contacts the press. He alerts regulatory authorities. And finally, in November 1961, for years after Contergan's launch, the drug is withdrawn from the West German market. The UK follows within weeks. Other countries scramble to pull it. The damage, however, is already done. Somewhere between 10,000 and 20,000 children have been affected worldwide. Now, the United States. This is where the story takes a different turn. In 1960, the American pharmaceutical company Richardson Merrill submits an application to the FDA to market thalidomide in the US under the name Kevidin. The application lands on the desk of Dr. Frances Oldham Kelsey, a Canadian-born pharmacologist who has been at the FDA for less than a month. Kelsey reads the application. She is not satisfied. The safety data is incomplete. The studies on long-term neurological effects are thin. She requests more information. Richardson Merrill pushes back. Hard. They call her obstructionist. They go over her head. They apply pressure repeatedly over the course of more than a year. Kelsey holds firm. She sends the application back 6 times. 6 times she says, not enough evidence. And because of her refusal, thalidomide is never approved for the American market. The US is largely spared the epidemic that devastates Europe, Canada, and Australia. Kelsey is later awarded the President's Award for Distinguished Federal Civilian Service by John F. Kennedy. She deserves every syllable of that recognition. But here is what that heroism cannot undo: the thousands of children already born affected in the countries where the drug ran free. In the UK alone, approximately 2,000 thalidomide-affected babies are born. In West Germany, the epicenter, the numbers are even higher. Families are shattered. Parents are given no explanation, no support, no acknowledgement from the company that caused it. Chemie Grünenthal does not immediately accept responsibility. They fight. They delay. They minimize. Legal proceedings drag on for years. The company eventually reaches settlements, but executives face no meaningful criminal punishment. The lead criminal case in West Germany is dropped in 1970 after Grünenthal makes a compensation payment to a victims' fund. Justice, by any reasonable measure, is never truly served. Evidence? What investigators and journalists piece together over the following decades reveals a pattern of institutional negligence that borders on criminal intent. Internal Grünenthal documents, eventually surfaced through litigation, show that the company received reports of adverse effects, specifically peripheral neuropathy, as early as 1959. These reports were not forwarded to regulatory authorities. They were managed internally, minimized, and in some cases, actively suppressed. Widukind Lenz's epidemiological work remains the cornerstone of the case against thalidomide. His 1961 analysis of birth records and maternal drug histories is rigorous and reproducible. When independent researchers verify his methodology, the correlation between thalidomide use and fetal deformity is unambiguous. This is not a contested finding. This is settled science, arrived at by one determined doctor working against active corporate resistance. The biological mechanism is later established with precision. Thalidomide interferes with angiogenesis, the formation of new blood vessels, during critical windows of fetal development. Without adequate blood supply, limbs and organs cannot form. The drug essentially starves developing tissue of the vascular infrastructure it needs to grow. This mechanism was not understood in 1957, but the absence of understanding does not excuse the absence of testing. Competing theories about Grunthal's culpability range across a spectrum. The most charitable reading, the company was recklessly negligent, not deliberately malicious. They moved too fast, tested too little, and prioritized profit over caution in an era when pharmaceutical regulation was far weaker than it is today. A darker reading, supported by the documented suppression of neuropathy reports, suggests active concealment. They knew the drug was causing harm in adults. They chose market share over disclosure. And that choice killed and maimed thousands of children. The Nazi connection to Grunthal's founding has been noted by historians, though direct causal links between wartime ideology and the thalidomide scandal remain contested. What is not contested is that the company's corporate culture in the 1950s placed expansion and profit above scientific caution. The dead ends in this case are largely legal, not factual. The facts are known. The accountability never fully materialized. In 2012, 50 years after the scandal, Grunthal's CEO Harold Stock issues a public apology to thalidomide survivors and their families. He calls it a tragedy. Survivors call the apology insufficient. Many are still alive. Many are still fighting for adequate compensation. The company still exists. It still sells pharmaceuticals today. Verdict. Was this solvable then? Yes, with basic teratogenicity testing, the kind that Francis Kelsey demanded and Grunthal never conducted. The science existed. The methodology existed. The company chose speed over safety in a regulatory environment too weak to stop them. This was preventable from day one. Would modern forensics crack it today? There is nothing left to crack scientifically. The mechanism is fully understood, the timeline is documented, the internal communications have been examined. What modern forensics would add is a cleaner legal case. Today's pharmaceutical liability frameworks, digital document discovery, and international regulatory cooperation would make concealment of adverse effect reports virtually impossible. Grunthal's executives would face criminal prosecution, not a negotiated settlement. Most plausible real scenario? Chemie Grünenthal knew by 1959 that thalidomide was causing neurological damage in adult users. They made a calculated decision that disclosure would kill their most profitable product. They banked on regulatory weakness and corporate inertia to protect them. They were right. No executive went to prison. The drug destroyed tens of thousands of lives, and the people responsible died wealthy. The thalidomide scandal is not a mystery. It is a monument to what happens when profit is allowed to outrun accountability, and the monument is built from the bodies of children. CTA? Thalidomide survivors are still fighting for justice today. If this story made you angry, good. It should. Subscribe to CrimeScopeAI for weekly deep dives into the crimes that shaped history. Hit the bell. You cannot afford to miss what comes next.